Just a couple of things before we get started. Just check out the person next to you, whoever they are. Yeah, they have a very distinct role this afternoon. It's their job to make sure that the effects of lunch don't have too much impact on you and you don't nod off. Yeah? So, what we're going to try and do this afternoon is really look at the process of learning. Now, most presentations at these kind of conferences either talk about teaching or they give you information about technical things or those kind of things. But of course, information is really redundant if you can't actually get somebody to assimilate it. If somebody can't learn something, yeah, then we're in trouble. Yeah? So I don't know if you've had the experience of finding yourself in a place where you didn't understand what was going on. Around this time last year, they sent me to Bolivia. Okay, and I don't speak Spanish, although we'll talk about that a bit later. And on the first day I arrived and I went to the hotel, the bellman took my bag and he said something and I went, "No habla español," which is all my Spanish. At which point he just laughed at me. Right? Getting to the room, there's a girl still cleaning my room, she says something and I go, "No habla español," at which point she laughed at me as well. And for the next 2 days, basically every time I said that, someone laughed at me. And all of a sudden I realised, you might think you're the expert, but actually you're really in a position here where you can't communicate. I wasn't receiving the information well enough. So actually, whatever they were saying, they may as well have been singing in Russian. I wasn't going to learn it. There was no way to exchange information. And of course, everything we're talking about today in the last 2 days is about how children learn. And I like to say, I don't teach tennis, I teach children. Just phrase it that way. It's very much about putting the child at the heart of everything we do, trying to create a greater understanding of them, and that allows us to be more effective as coaches. Okay? So that's, if you like, what this afternoon is going to be about. It's also going to be a little bit of a smorgasbord. I'm going to give you 10 principles that you could use. 10 different things that you could use. And you kind of need to understand about coming to these kind of conferences when you understand there's going to be 10 principles. Yeah? The first thing is, there's no way you're going to integrate all 10 principles in what you do. And even if you wanted to, it takes a very long time to change habits. I like to look at it like juggling. Okay? If somebody came in and said, right, here's 5 principles, I want you to juggle. Yeah, let's take all the things from this conference and integrate them instantly. You'd go, and you wouldn't know where to start. That's where you're going to be back when you get back to your club on Monday. So instead what you do is you start with 1, yeah, and then after about a month, challenge yourself to add another one, yeah, and then see if you can add a 3rd one, okay, and then you can do 4, right? All right. But you've got to think about it as, okay, I'm going to give you 10 things, right? Go back to your club, and we all know that the people that are at these conferences are very often the tennis directors or the people of influence. This is nice, this conference, we have a lot of young coaches, a lot of frontline coaches, yeah? And actually, you're still going to be asked to go back and have an influence on other people. And if you try and give them all the information you've gained from this conference, there's no way else can happen. So pick 1 a month, that's my advice. Pick 1 of these things I'm going to give you each month. Talk to your staff about it, work with them, let's see how we get to at the end of the month. Do we need another month on it, or should we move to point number 2? All right, so that's the nature of that. Before we do things, I want to just talk a little bit about this concept of learning in terms of the idea of implicit learning. We're going to look at creating environments, and within an environment we need to really understand that learning is not equal to teaching. Our job is to maximise learning. In other words, to make learning happen even when we're not there. Yeah, I'll give you a good example. Just block Noah's ears for a second. Right? My daughter came home from school and she learnt a word that began with F. Okay, it's not a polite or repeatable word. She did use it in the right context, which was very impressive when she said, "Something new, Daddy," right? Okay, she never ever said it again, but equally, nobody sat her down and tried to teach her it. You learn a lot from your environment. And that's one of the big things about Red on 3, yeah, that actually we can maximise learning because we're putting a kid in a certain environment. But we're also going to look at controlling that beyond just red, orange and green. What is in the tennis environment so we can really help people to learn about the nature of tennis. The nature of tennis as a combative sport, for example. The fact that there's somebody down the other end of the court and they're actually trying to hurt you. And at the end of the day, you're supposed to shake their hand and say, "Thank you very much for hurting me. And by the way, I'm glad you enjoyed me hurting you." All right? So there's some things we have to get kids involved in on that front as well. Within all of this, you might be thinking about this word of fun. Because a lot of the time we talk about fun in tennis. And again, I want to try and challenge you to think about what that really means. Fun is vitally important because fun creates motivation for a child to want to learn something. But what is fun? Let's do a little test. In your head, I want you to think of 3 things that are fun. Please remember that although we know each other a little bit, this is a professional workshop. Yeah? So nothing about last night's festivities, you on the end there, right? Okay, right, 3 things and nothing from Julio about wearing tight shorts. If you want to know about that one, it's a whole other story, right? So, 3 things you had that you think are fun. Now you are Americans, so you should be able to get to 3 very quickly. British people never get past 2 before they go, "Yeah, I'm not really sure what the last one is actually." Right, so, you ready? Go, 3 things in your head that you think are fun. Think of them, now, don't tell anyone, just think of them. Stop. Got 3? Yeah? See, I told you Americans, no other nation in the world can think of 3 that fast. Right? Tell me one you're not good at. See, it's about understanding the adult learner. Normally as an adult, we do things that we are competent at. We actually chose to be a tennis coach because we thought we had the attributes before we even got there. Now, of course, some of you might have said, actually, I'm not very good at it, but I'm enjoying learning it. That could make it fun. You might say, you know what, as a child, you might say being with my friends doing something, even though I'm not very good at it, is fun. We tend not to do that quite so much as an adult because we tend to socialise in things we're competent at. Obviously the drinking one gets set aside on that one, right? But there are different things that make something fun, and often we get this statistic that says kids gave up tennis because it wasn't fun, and you have to ask the question, why not? What was fun to this kid? And I learned to ski a few years ago. For the first 8 weeks, it wasn't fun. In fact, there was nothing that was fun about it. I spent most of my time being a 3-year-old. By that I mean 3-year-old falls over every day of their life. Okay? Oh, I spent the whole time falling over. Alright, so thinking about fun as we go through is an important one as well because that's going to help motivate. And the last thing to say is, before we start, a lot of the things we say when we talk about learning, because we're going to set the environment first, a lot of the things we say when we talk about learning you will already know. Especially if you are a parent. But what you probably didn't realise was that it actually related to learning, or you could use it in the context of teaching tennis. Okay? I'll give you one example. Variety for a young kid is not doing all different things. It's actually not doing something for too long. Okay, for us, we go through our DVD collection, we go, oh, I haven't watched that one for a long time. But I watched High School Musical #1 52 times. Well, not the whole movie. What I mean is we put it in the DVD player, because my daughter said, Dad, can we watch High School Musical? And I said, yes, you can. And then she went, no, you have to watch it with me. Okay? So I sat down watching Zach sing his songs and bounce his ball. Okay? And invariably after 10 minutes I realised that despite the fact that he now had his head in the game, and I knew very well he had his head in the game, right? If you know High School Musical, you know where it comes from, right? After 10 minutes, I realised I was watching Zach and Vanessa dance and I was on my own. Because she had now left the room. And although at 39 years old I was thinking Vanessa's quite attractive, I was feeling a bit weird about feeling that at 39 years old. So I changed the channel and I put something else on. And after 10 minutes she'd come back and go, not Vanessa, my daughter, she'd go, what's going on? We're watching High School Musical. No, you left the room. No, we're watching High School Musical. At which point she flips it back to the DVD and goes, and now I've missed a bit, so we need to start it again from the beginning. Right? And now I'm getting my head back in the game again, right? So you've all had that experience if you're a parent. You all know that a kid will watch the program over and over and over again, not always pay attention the whole way through. Sometimes they'll watch the program in the morning and again in the afternoon. Actually, they feel secure in watching things that they know. So we come on, this is a classic example. We come on as a tennis coach and we go, what should we do this week? Oh, we did that last week. That's probably a very good reason to do it again. Whereas we're going, no, DVD, I watched that one last week, we're not watching this one again. Whereas actually the message is, let's do it again, but let's not do it for too long before we stop and go and do something else and then come back to it and do it. See? And that's what I mean. If we just pay attention, if you actually paid attention to Michelle's presentation yesterday, you would have recognised, and you know kids, you would have recognised Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer, and Sesame Street. Because actually all of those principles were in what she did yesterday. Alright? In other words, it's all around us the whole time. We just have to step outside of tennis. And one of the best things you can do is ask all the kids you teach, what's your favourite TV programme? Write a list, get in your living room, switch the TV on, put your feet up, lock the door, tell your partner, sorry, can't come in, I'm working today, right, and watch children's TV. You will learn about vocabulary, you will learn about attention spans, you will even learn about the visual development of a child by watching children's TV. Because if you watch a program that's designed for 5-year-olds, they use a 2-dimensional cartoon, very flat on the screen, whereas by the time you got to 8 and 9, they're much more 3D style cartoons in a much more different way. And the reason they design them like that is because of the visual development of children's eyes. It's easier for a child to see those simple shapes at a younger age. Later on, they can see the more sophisticated shapes. Loads to learn, alright? So, a lot of the things I'm going to say, you know already. Alright, so let's start off by setting the environment right. What is in the tennis environment? What's unique about the tennis environment? Okay? Describe the game without talking about the racket, for example. What's in the environment? What are the physical things that we can see? Physical things are the court. Yeah, the lines is part of the court, yeah. The net.
The ball.
Yeah, the balls. And there's only one more thing left. Half of the rackets said you couldn't say that. The opponent. Yeah? So the tennis environment is quite specific. It's different to a golf environment. Yeah? It's an enclosed space. So the first thing to understand is, if we want to maximise implicit learning, what we need to try and do is be very understanding of how a skill matches a certain space. Okay? So we're going to take the little red court and we're going to split it into 4 spaces and we're going to watch a few different versions of tennis. And I'm going to use Noah a little bit later, but I'm not going to use him for this one. But I need 2 people to come out and play. She's back. Okay, first of all, what's your name again? Okay, can we just have a round of applause for Alana, please? Because if Alana didn't come out and play, nobody else would have played this workshop. Alright? Okay, and? Jenny and Eli. Oh, look, she thinks it's serious.
I get hot.
All right. Okay, let's go down this end here. Right, I'm not going to tell them anything apart from where the spaces are. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take the standard little red court here, and we're going to make it different shapes. Okay? So, real simple. We're going to split it into 4 boxes, like this. Okay? So we're just going to make a central line down here. Okay, and then we have a line here, and a line here. So if you see those 4 boxes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? And then, we'll do the same with the other end of Jenny. Real simple one. Oh, see like that. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we're just going to ask them to play tennis. Okay? Play to win. Don't do that nice flowy thing. Alright? This is America, the land of competition. Alright? So, yeah, alright, so first space we're going to play, we're going to make the court long and skinny like this. Alright? So it's that box there, and that box there, and that box there, and that box there. That's it. Ready? Yeah? Hit it and go. Win. Right? Anyone here from Lifetime Fitness? If she doesn't win, she's out of the job. Right, come on. She's only just got a big job. Right, let's go. Down. One love. Okay, keep it short. Okay. I didn't see that. You've got to call it. Okay. Oh, see. Greg, good hire. Well done. Okay. Okay, let's change the space. Now the space is just this box. Just this box versus just that box. Just this little box here. There you go. Move it over. Just that little box there versus just that little box there. Okay? Ready, go. You know that visual development thing? I think she needs her eyes tested. That's out, okay? Alright, let's go again. One more. That's out. Do another one. That's out. Keep going. That's out. Okay, we're going to add another box. Let's go. This one and this one are in. So, yeah, the front 2 boxes. Front 2 boxes are in. Yeah, there you go. Tennis coaches. Right. Out. Okay. So, can you see how the space has actually determined what skills we use? The space has actually created a need for playing tennis in a certain way. Let's give you another one. That one there, those 2 there, right, versus those 2 there. And you know what you can also see, don't you? Alright, okay. Alright, let's go. Okay, at this point we'll find out whether American women will ever dominate tennis again. Go on. These 2 versus those 2. Yeah? Okay, we think it's that. It's not that racket's a genius, it's mine. Now you can see what we're trying to do here already. Okay. You know what it is?
I play with the Prince racket on it.
It's that bloody Mark Kovacs ruining your legs this morning, that's what it is.
I can't believe I was 20.
Why do you like slice then?
Because I'm used to playing with the little rackets. I've been playing with his all.
The principle of adaptation we'll talk about later. Okay, can you see what she's trying to do now? Can you see actually, there's more value in topspin when you do a cross court like this than there is value in topspin when you go down the line. So actually, I didn't tell her to topspin the ball so it bounces and goes into the net, but she worked out how to win. And fundamentally, this is what game-based coaching is. We set out a game and then we have a certain set of skills, right? And we've created an implicit learning environment. Rather than looking at the court as a whole, you know, the space has to match the skill. So let me give you an example. Quickly grab a racket. When is this a really bad forehand? You ready? Here we go. When is that a really bad forehand? Come on. When was that? I know my forehand's not great anyway, but when was that a really bad forehand? When was it? Sorry, Greg. When was that a really bad forehand? Because a lot of people would have looked at that. Where were you looking? Okay, I'm going to give you the answer, and then you'll go, ah, that was a really bad forehand if I wanted the ball to go there. Yeah, so we talk about the forehand as if it's one swing. I once went to a presentation with someone, I can't remember what it was called, but they basically said every forehand finishes here. Yeah, and that's the same as the little baby rapper that comes to the club. You know, the guy that, like, he's got the little headband on and the long hair and he kind of wears the long shorts and he's going up there ready and he gets ready to return serve and he goes like that before he starts. Yeah, and then he hits every forehand like that. Because he thinks that's what rapper does, right? But in other words, this is an open skill sport and the kid has to learn different spaces and different shapes. Now, when a 10-year-old learned to play tennis with a yellow ball on a big court, of course they just learned one forehand, because anywhere in front of the net, it won't happen. And the forehand's sole intention was to get the ball back over the net. Yeah? Win the collision. Boom, and the ball went back over. Right? That was what it was all about. Now it's not about that anymore. Now we're engaging the kid's brain. So you have to think about how you can set spaces out to drive technique. Okay, let's give, after each one of these I'm going to give you a little puzzle to make sure you've understood it. Okay, so the little puzzle on this one is going to be, okay, I want my kid to hit through the ball. At the moment he's doing this because he thinks that's a top spin forehand. I want my kid to hit through the ball. What court shape or part of the court are you going to make him hit the ball to in order to help him start to fix that himself without you saying anything? Alright? So, talk to the person next to you. Where would you be asking the kids to hit the ball? What would be these are essentially target areas. Alright? Where would you be asking the kids to hit the ball? How would you shape the court up to make that happen? Alright? You've got 30 seconds to tell the person next to you, then I'll tell you the answer. Okay, ready? All right, so, Ilana, you want to give us the answer?
Unless it was right.
Just in 3 words, you're going to make them hit the ball in the...
It's the backcourt.
Oh, that was not the answer you were going to... Okay, well,
Well, I said in the alley.
okay, in the alley. So if you actually told someone to hit just down the alley, of course, they're going to hit through the ball a little bit more. All right, so this is the whole concept of have you set the environment right. Essentially, the court is a target. But if you haven't set the space at which the ball needs to go to, then when the kid comes out and he goes, and you say, I want you to hit the forehand like that, and he goes, no coach, I win like this, honestly, I win like this all the time. Okay? If you haven't given him a specific place to hit the ball, then he's right. He has no reason to change. Just the same as if the kid comes out here and serves like this, you want him to change the grip, but you haven't told him where he needs to hit the ball, he can get the ball in the box like that. What can he not do with that grip? Probably get good direction. So the target, the outcome, is very, very important. Right? The space, you have to look at the court as a set of targets. Okay, what else is in this environment? Well, what else is in this environment is 2 players. I'll tell you where I'll tell you the 3 things we're going to look at very quickly, because this is my daughter's first tennis lesson ever. So my daughter's now 13, she doesn't play tennis. It's all because of her first coach and the irresponsible behaviour of her father, right? But when she was 6, she went for her first tennis lesson at the club. It wasn't me. I'm not so stupid as to try and teach my own child, especially a girl. Because if you are a father of a daughter, you will realise that at 7, she's already more intelligent than you. Admit it, it's the secret to happiness in life, right? Okay, so very simply, she went to her first tennis lesson at 6. I said, you want to go again? She went, no. We didn't do proper tennis. Hang on, what's proper tennis? She said, well, at one point, I hit the ball over the fence, and the coach said, good follow through, Ella. Does he not know the ball has to go in the court? That's true, I'm pretty sure I've said that at some point. That's what we just did. The target area shapes the technique, right? She said, and you know what? Is he married to that basket? Because he never leaves it, it's always next to him on the court. Tennis is supposed to be somebody else down the other end. True, 2 players. Part of the target for Ilana is going to be Jenny, yeah? Alright? That's part of the target. Later on it'll be where she is. Okay, so there needs to be 2 players, we can say that. And then she said, oh, and I had to stand like a star. Right? She said, it was like golf, Dad. I didn't have to move, I just stood like a star on the dot. I went, you know what? 6-year-old girl, smarter than most of the coaches I employ, because she worked out that tennis, there needs to be a court. There needs to be 2 players, and you need to move. And if you don't do those 3 basic things, you are not in a tennis environment. But we used to cheat on that because you know what, we used to do things like, you know, or my all-time favourite was race from the baseline, put your head on the thing, spin around like this 5 times, pick the ball up and hit it over the net. Those are the kind of random, useless, time-wasting drills we used to do because every kid was playing with this racket and a yellow ball. We don't have to do that anymore because we have the right size equipment now, right? And it has no clothes. So let's just look at all scenarios. Let's just even deal with this idea of 2 players. Okay? Let's just look at that. So obviously, if we had 2 good players like this, they could be rallying. Okay? And what tends to happen is, let's take a real basic version. Let's imagine we've got 2 very young players, okay, and it's their first few lessons of tennis. This is what tends to happen. Ilana, you can keep that racket.
I'm going to borrow this.
Okay.
Since we're playing short ones.
See, Americans are all about rules. I've discovered this. Right? I own a house in South Carolina and I get fined every month because my tenant left their trash can out. I own 3 more houses in England, no one bothers, right? So Americans are all about rules, it's all about using the right size racket. So anyway, right, so what's going to happen is Jenny's going to come out and Ilana's going to come out, and the first thing we have to understand is to get people to work effectively in 2s, you have to understand that at the beginning, kids see things physically. Just do this, put your finger up like that. Okay, come on. No, and now look, very fun and look at it. Okay, you ready? You ready? You ready? Ready? Here we go. Keep going. Right. Don't look at it. Look past it. Don't look at it. Look past it. Look past it. Do not look at it. Whatever you do, do not look at it. Keep looking right past it. Okay, how many times did you look at it? How many times did you want to look at it? How many times did you feel your eyes kept being drawn back and you forced yourself away? The concept of space is way harder for a kid to learn than physical things. So basically what happens is Jenny comes up and Ilana comes up to a little line like this because it's her first day, and you say to Ilana, you know what, they say in 10 and under tennis, this thing where you must work in 2s. Jenny, I want you to throw the ball to Ilana. And Jenny goes, yeah? Because the only physical thing she can see at the other end, at the start, is the play. Okay? So then we have to create a target system. The target system is very simple to create. What's the best target in the world? Is it a big target or a small target? Put your hand up if you think it's a big target. Put your hand up if you think it's a small target. Put your hand up if you think it's a trick question. Well done. Right, okay? Yeah. The best target in the world is a small target inside a big target. Alright? Because the small target draws your eye, like the finger. The big target provides the thing that Elijah, if you've heard us walk past her, she said, big target is success. So she's not wrong, right? But most people don't set the drill up right. So if they say to Jenny, throw the ball, she's just going to throw the ball at her. If instead now we say, right, you get 100 points if you hit the blue cone, okay? And you've got to make sure the ball goes back into this space here. You get 10. Even better, if this is girls, they'll probably do it nicely, right?
Am I doing it in the space or inside?
So this is your baseline. Okay? Alright? If it's girls, they'll probably do it nicely. If it's boys, you might have to have a reward system. Because boys don't do cooperative tasks without getting things. Yeah? So closed pin's the best thing. Every time they do it, yeah, I got another one. Yeah, another one. Yeah. As long as, right, and they can just, honestly, box of closed pins is the best motivation system you get forever. There are only two rules, remember. The first one is they're not allowed up your nose, and the second one is they're not allowed on your ears. Apart from that, they can go anywhere on your clothes, and you've got a motivation system already. So this is the right way to set it up. So not only have we got somebody sending the ball to a specific task, but now you can see, now, if you miss that, watch it again in slow-mo. Go. Come on, do it again. Do it better this time. Do it in slow-mo. Forget me. Can you see her actually looking at the blue cone? Can you see her actually, that's the thing, when I came back, I watched her and she was literally like that, trying to get the ball on the blue cone. When I made it go slow-mo, she forgot, but, alright? You see the focus and attention you're going to create, and that makes the task manageable, and that allows you to do what all good college coaches do. Who play college tennis? Right? Your coach coached by walking around, didn't they? They set it up, they walked around, they fixed things. So that's what 10 and under tennis is. It's the same way. You know, the kid who can actually play, so you walk around and fix things. Okay? You don't stand there like and do nothing. Yeah? But you don't get glued to your basket like you used to do. Okay? Just do one more time. Okay? The other thing that's really important to remember about twos is, actually, the most difficult thing in tennis is not sending the ball. How long would it take you to actually teach a kid to do this? Say average 7-year-old kid. 5 minutes? Most of us, average kid, 5 minutes. I call it the 5-minute forehand. That's not the hard bit. That's golf. The ball's pretty much still. The hard bit's actually the receiving bit, so we need receiving tasks. Like, for example, catching the ball, throwing it when it comes back, she has to try and catch it in the cone. Because now we're actually challenging her reception skills. And that's something for the lay down square. Now on reception skills, just to explain why tennis is challenging, especially depth, two things. First of all, kids' eyesight's not very coordinated when they're little. Their eyes don't, and you know, you need to judge depth, look. Yeah, you need to actually use both eyes. And the other thing is there's two flights of the ball. So what you'll often see is you'll see the kid do this. Oh, well done. You can retire. Alright? You see them do this? They'll move to the bounce of the ball. Because they actually assessed the first flight of the ball, but they didn't work out the second flight of the ball. Okay? It's a bit conceptual for children, it's tough. So that's why this helps, because you're moving to find spaces. And there's a million different things you could do. Let me just grab a racket. Okay, so you could catch the ball in the cone like we did. You could try and stop the ball on the second bounce. That made you move away from the first bounce. Yeah. You could bump it and hit it. You could let it, oh my god, you could let it bounce twice. Shock horror. Right. You could even do this. Alright? Which if you look at the setup has exactly the same motion as Mark was talking about this morning, moving back for forehand. When you go to kick in football, remember it's called football, not soccer. Right? You can't call your game football because you only throw it every 20 minutes. I kick it every 20 minutes. The rest of the time you throw it. So I've decided that I'm going to rename your sport because secretly the English are still running this country. It's just underground now. We're going to call it chuck it. American chuck it, because you throw it a lot more than you kick it, right? So, but anyway, if you look at the way we set up to kick, okay, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Okay? So simple little things like that just help the kid to work with, find space. Reception is still the hardest thing. So if you don't include reception, the number one reason why most high school kids can't play, not because they can't do the mechanics of the sending of it, because they can't receive the ball. The other thing that's vitally important is the player at the other end needs to understand that their ball will come back. I had when we very first started 10 and under in the US, I went up to Holland, Michigan to do a little bit of filming. I was during my fat phase, so I rejected all of the filming because I really didn't like myself on the camera at the end of it, right? But there's a little girl came out called Kim, and she was a Korean girl, and her dad was a coach, and he was this big, her dad, right? And she was this big, okay? And she was 9. And she came out for the DVD shooting for Green Ball. And I went, you know what, Kim, I'm really sorry, but we're going to have to put you on the red court for the DVD. And after 5 minutes, she turned around and she said, this red ball tennis, Mike's really hard. I said, why is it hard? She said, the ball keeps coming back. Right? You know, and the kid has to learn that. The kid has to learn when they hit it, it's going to come back. But of course, if you're the pro, you know, there with the car balls, and you're just hitting every single ball like this, they're not seeing that the ball actually goes backwards and forwards. They're not also understanding, you know, my favourite drill for the serve, even at Red Bull, is this drill. I'm the returner, Ilana's the server. Her job is to get it past me. No, not you, isn't it? Is to get it past me. Right? So she's got to try and make the serve past me. One love to me. Alright? So rather than think about where the ball lands, or nearly, go for the wide back, it's easier. Alright?
I'm trying.
Rather than think about where the ball lands, you don't have to do a sophisticated slice.
Can't help
direct over there. Ah, there you go. See? Right? The target becomes involving the other person. You see? So actually the two-player thing could be the target involving the other person. Okay? Let's just look at the last. So that's the second principle. There are lots of reasons to have two players involved. It's not just the number management thing. It's based on receiving the ball, number one. And that means, look, even if you love your kart so much that you've named it, you know, we know there are pros out there with Tracy written down the side here, you know. This is Tracy, I love her so much, she's never going anywhere, right? And every time I go around, you know, she might as well be on a leash, because every time I move, she comes with me. You've seen those kind of pros. Even if you have that kind of scenario, you know, and you're out here beating every ball, okay? When the ball comes back, just go there, Alana. Right, at the speed of light, Jenny, run down there. At the speed of light. Alright? When the ball comes back, right, so we're just going to go back and down the line, okay? Alright, when the ball comes back, my player could be moving, receiving, recovering, putting it back in the car, and going again. That's still two players involved in the drill. She's still working on the reception. Start the step. There we go. Come on, go. Let's go next one. All right, back to the centre for you as well. All right. Yeah. So even if you love your car so much that you get the DTs, you know, when you start moving away from it, all right, you can still include two players. All right. Okay, the other things about the movement cycle. Movement cycle is really important. So let's just look at this real careful. Who's ever done this drill? Ilana, can you just take the net off for me for a second? Because I'm feeling like we're going to go orange, so we can use the space a bit better. Right. So the next principle is to put movement in. We've already put a returner in, a second player. Now we need to make sure we put movement in. So just stand over there for a minute. Look green. Alright? Okay, so put your hand up if you've ever done this drill. Yeah? Tracy's here. Okay? Put your hand up if you've ever done that. If you don't put your hand up right now, you are lying. Okay? Every tennis player on the planet has done that. They've stood the player on the baseline and they've made them serve. Okay? Now we've already established that actually there needs to be a return. So Alana drops in there. That was, we did that in the last principle. But now we also need to think, put your hand up if you've ever had this problem with a player. Right, Alana, you can return and go wherever you like on the court. Ready? Here we go. Who's ever had the problem where the person serves and they kind of stand still to see if the serve's gone in or those kind of things? Because they're not used to serving and moving. So if instead we change the whole premise of the drill, and I take my little basket and I put it over there. And let's just use this one. Just take this and put it in the middle of the orange baseline, just behind the middle of the orange baseline. You can kind of see where the orange baseline is coming. Alright? Keep, that's good. Right, okay. So this time, look at this drill. It's the same drill, but now it includes a movement cycle. Just to show you can do it on anything. Here you go, you ready? So I'm going to serve. I want you to catch the ball in your hand, recover to the centre and drop it in the basket. Yeah? You ready? Here we go. Keep facing forward. Now in order for me to get another ball, oops, I wasn't supposed to have one. Right, in order for me to get another ball, I now have to go back to the basket to get the next one. So it's real simple. I'm now thinking, right, this is the drill. I have to go back here to get it. So now even on the serve, the most static thing we do in tennis, we can always ready, serve, recover. Yeah, we can get that whole cycle in. And, so that would, you can see why that might be a challenge. Going back to the things I said right at the beginning, in your club, imagine if you said this month, we want to try and include the movement cycle in everything we do. Ready, move, balance, strike, recover, ready. And then you just challenged all your pros. Every single drill we do, we finish by we add recovery. You never have that drill where the kid hits the ball and goes running off over here somewhere, right? Because it's not tennis. It's the simplest thing. Remember what I told you right at the beginning? These are really obvious things when you think about it. My 6-year-old daughter worked them out in one lesson. You need to know where you're hitting the ball. There needs to be a court. You need to have 2 players involved in the process so that you can understand the nature of tennis, so that you can practice reception, and you need to have a movement cycle. You need to be specific about those 3 things. And if you start that, the kid's already learning about tennis without you. They're getting the nature of the game without you. They're understanding there's an opponent. They're understanding they have to move. Put your hand up now if you've ever had a kid and they've got to 12 years old and you've looked at them, you've gone, they really can't move. Okay? You've never had a kid at 12. You're only 7, right? Okay, yeah. I'm putting my hand up. I promise you, everything I'm doing on the court today, I have spent. In fact, did anybody take a lesson from me in the first 15 years of my coaching career here? Good, that means I don't owe you any money. Because if you had, you should come and ask for your money back. It was awful. Right? Okay? Honestly. In fact, I did do that once, and somebody was in the audience. He went, "Yeah, you taught me from 12 to 14. After 2 years, I think you owe me a few grand." Right? But the reality is we all progress, and we've all done that because we were all brought up a certain way, thinking a certain way. Everything we're doing now in 10 and under is about pushing the boundaries. It's about going a step further. The purpose of, this is the scary thing, the purpose of 10 and under is not to produce a player the same level as Federer, Nadal, Murray, Djokovic, Serena, Sharapova, whatever. The purpose is to produce players that are even better than that. That's a scary thought. Alright? But that's human nature. We keep progressing. Okay? So, very quick summary, because those are the only three things we're going to talk about with the environment, how we've set up an implicit learning environment. Then we're going to start talking about how the kids genuinely learn. Alright? So, talk to the person next to you, explain to them what we just did. Now the reason you do this is because what is the worst question in the world to ask a child? Go on, Judith. Do you understand? Because when you say to a kid, and ladies, you've had this experience with men as well, right? When you say to a kid, do you understand? And they go, yeah. Right? And then they go off and do something completely different. It got lost in translation. So if instead you say, explain to me what you're going to do next, and then they say, we're going to do that, and you go, oh, wow. All right? So explain to the person the three principles of the core, two players, and movement, and why we do them. The person next to you. And then they can explain it back to you, and that way we make sure everyone's on the same page so we can move forward. Go. Okay, all right. Any questions? Set the environment right and people will start to learn. How easy is it to implement those three things? How easy is it to implement those three things? Put your hand up if you think it's easy to implement those three things. Okay? Okay, the answer is it's easy, but it's not simple. Yeah? You can do it, but it's going to take time. It won't just happen. You want to change habits, doesn't matter if it's kids' habits or anything else. It's going to take time. So that's three things. That's 3 months of work we just did with your team. Yeah? First month, every single time you go on the court, put the baseline down. Put the baseline down. Put the baseline down. Where's the core? What shape are we doing? The shape must match the skill. Second thing, right, every single time we go on the court, there must be two players. Let's work that. Let's find things for them to do. Let's get some tactical understanding. Let's get some reception skills going. Let's get that whole thing working. All right? Third thing, let's include, because we're all creatures of habit. We go back to doing what we were doing before. Breaking a habit is very challenging. So there are three very simple, you know, if you like, three simple things that are not easy to implement. Sorry, I said that the wrong way around before. Okay? Yeah? Right, so now we're talking about learning. Now, let me give you an example of how I think about learning. Have you had an experience where you tried to teach something and you felt like in teaching you were banging on the door and the kid wasn't letting you in. Have you had that experience? Yes, we've all had that experience. Yeah, you're like, come on, get this, why can't you do it? You know, and have you also had the experience sometimes where you look at it and go, why the hell can't you learn this? Right? That's a different thing, that's about readiness. Right? We always have that. Have you also had the experience, if you're very lucky or you're very good or both, where the kid came up to you and said, Coach, can you help me with this? Okay? The kid opened, instead of banging on the door, the kid opened the door and said, Coach, come in and help me. All right? What's the difference between banging on the door and the kid opening the door? What makes that different change in behaviour? What they want, perfect answer. It's about their motivation and their need. So we're going to take a really obvious example for this, right? So I'll show you two approaches. Let's imagine we're working on an orange court, and an orange court at some point we want to try to get the kid to be able to move the ball off the side of the court with their serve. With a little bit of slice. Yeah? So the idea is we want to try and get the ball to move off just a bit. So I'm going to do this with Jenny, but we're going to keep, actually we'll keep you down this end, Alana, you'll come in handy in a minute. Actually, you stand on the net. So, we'll do it up here, sorry, because I just realised I got the wrong end. Right, so, this is the old-fashioned approach, yeah? This is a bit more dated, this is the approach we used to do. Right, Jenny, what we want you to do, okay, is, it's really important, because you know I'm the coach, yeah, you know your mum hates me, yeah, and you know I know what I'm talking about, right, so it's really important you learn the slide serve. Yeah? Really, really important. What I want you to do is, and you know you get the whole thing with, what I want you to do is stand like this, you've got to have that grip like that, you're going to make your arms split like that, push the ball up a little bit to the side, cut across the ball there, make the ball spin over there and go on the court over there. Is that alright? Okay? So that's the kind of traditional approach to teaching. Okay? In which case, what normally happens with a kid is the door slams shut. And the kid, you think you're banging on the door. Right? Different approach like this. Okay, so we're going to use orange balls. And Jenny, run down the other end. Okay, Ilana, you come out here with your racket. Right, Ilana, do you know Michael? Do you know Michael? That's Michael there with the blue track. Go and shake his hand. Right. There you go. Conference is all about networking. Go and stand next to it. I want you to be very close to it. Almost to the point where, you know, there's that proximity thing. You know. Do you have that with coaches sometimes? Do you have it with weird coaching stuff? You know, some coaches are so far away like this, and other coaches are like this. Weirdo. Okay, right, so stand right next to Mikey right there. Okay, this is what we're going to do, Jenny. I'm going to hit you the ball. And as soon as I hit you the ball, you can actually, we'll cheat a little bit. We should mark the orange court out properly, but because I'm moving fast, you can play the whole width of the court, right? You have to whip. She's over there. But as soon as I hit the ball, you can hit, she can start running. Okay? So she's standing outside the alley. Right? It's very simple. She's standing outside the alley. You ready? Go. Can you stop doing that slice thing? It's annoying.
She's getting far.
Put your hand up, but she would be an annoying pupil for you. Ready? Go! Let's go again. Let's go again. Ready, 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 ready. Go! Okay, we're up to left. Go again. Go again, go again, go again. Go! Okay, ready, go again. It's 2-2, it's all on this one. Get out there, get out there. Stop worrying about the score, just play. Alright, okay, right, we're going to play some more points. This time, Alana, you get to start here. Ready. Ready? go again. All right? Where you work, Jenny, are there any coaches? Because they need to help you to close out the net when you've got the advantage. Right, okay, right. Now we're going to give Jenny two options. We're going to say choose. You've got two options. You can either have Alana start there, or you can have Alana start over there. Which one do you want? Do you want her to be there, or do you want her to be over there at the beginning? Okay, I want it to, okay, right. So go over there. Now, to see where we've gone to with this now, where we're going to go is, right, would you like me to teach you a serve that can get her over there? Yes, coach. Open the door, come on in. You see? So what you've got to do is you've got to create a situation in which the kid understands the real benefit of the thing you're selling. When is a Ferrari a really bad car?
Atlanta traffic.
Atlanta traffic, yes, redundant Atlanta traffic. I normally say when you've got to drive across a muddy field, in which case a tractor's way better. All right? So you have to understand the benefit of the product that you're trying to sell, and you have to get the kid to understand that benefit. That's called context. Yeah? We're creating context for why we want to learn something. So we have to create a situation in which the kid opens the door and says, come on in, coach, because I want to learn that. Yeah? Now, that's going to take you more than a month to get your staff to understand. That's going to take you the next year to work on that, to think about that, to approach learning in that way. But you see, if the learning has value, and I'll go back to my Bolivian experience because it wasn't completely the truth. Actually, just before I went to Bolivia, well, I'd had 9 Spanish CDs in the back of the car. Learn Spanish with Michel Thomas. I'm not sure why I was learning Spanish with a Frenchman, but it was Spanish anyway, right? And they'd been there for 5 years. And in 5 years, I'd managed to go from CD 1 to CD number 2. And then the ITF said to me, Mike, we want you to go to Bolivia and Colombia and Argentina. And Brazil right in the middle, which the Portuguese completely threw me now, right? And I went from CD 2 to CD 5 inside 2 months. Because there'd been a reason for me to suddenly do it and learn it. I'd always wanted to do it. I'm still not very good at it, right? But and guess what? Guess how much I've progressed since I got back? Not very much. Number 6 now. On number 4, they have no habla español, which is still the most phrase that I've used the most, right? You get the idea, right? So, let's give your part. This is a really challenging one. The person next to you, give them something that you really want to teach a kid, but you have trouble getting the kid to want to learn it. And see if they can give you a situation in which the kid would want to learn. In other words, what do they benefit by learning that? All right? What do they get by learning that? All right? And what do they lose if they don't learn that? For example, you used this one already, yeah? A kid that plays like this. If you make the court really skinny, he can't get it in. So now it makes sense for him to learn this, which would allow him to actually direct the ball. Okay? Sorry, does your brain hurt? Your brain hurts, you just should have drunk more coffee after lunch. Okay? Alright, you've got 2 minutes, go. Alright, ready? Yeah? So, you know, the premise we're talking about, and I know it's a very challenging one, but it is very important. If you've been a parent, you will have experienced the age of why. Why is it like that, Daddy? Why is it like that? Why? Because I said so. That's not the answer, right? They're trying to make sense of what it is, they're trying to understand. And I kind of always like to take common phrases and throw something on the end. I don't agree with, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. In this scenario, tell me what you could do to make it drink. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's an old phrase. Yeah, walk around the desert for 3 days. You can take a horse to water and it damn well will drink. Yeah? You see, that's what I'm saying. You must create a need to learn something. If you do not have a need, and they say things in learning studies all the time about, oh, you have to repeat it 3,000 times in order to learn it. Really? You're telling me a baby stands up 3,000 times before it starts walking across the carpet? I don't think so. It depends on the need, right? And the study I was talking about briefly at break was, they worked out that in rooms where there were things that were quite high up, babies stood up earlier other than in rooms where there was nothing higher up. They were inquisitive. They wanted to get up there on the sofa. All right, so it's very interesting, and we have to create a need for things. All right? And if we don't do that first, we're always banging against the door. The first question you have to ask is, why would my kid want to learn this? Then you can start teaching. Okay? Right. Then we get into the mechanics of learning. Now, Michelle talked about this briefly yesterday, and we're going to explore it just a little bit more at another level. She talked about this principle. So we're going to play the word association game. You ready? I say a word, you say the first word that comes into your head. Here we go. Up, lap, fast, cross court, top spin, cabbage. Right, okay. If you've ever read a little book, if you've ever read a kid's book, like my favourite book to read with my daughter was called Pants. It was big pants, small pants, long pants, short pants, frilly pants, plain pants, black pants, white pants, right? Don't ask me why it's my favourite, I just like pants, right? Okay? But it was all based on opposites. And it's a fundamental way that we store information. We always take a piece of information. Left is not really of any value without right. Up, down. It's the way we reference the world around us. Okay? So it's also the way we learn motor skills. This one will freak you out if you're a believer in massive repetition. The problem with massive repetition is it's not a skill acquisition principle, it's actually a maintenance principle. So what happened in the early days is they go to these academies, like a Hotman, and they'd see all these guys hitting balls, you know, for 30 minutes cross court on the same angle, repeat. But the kid wasn't in the early stages of skill acquisition, they were in the latter stage of skill acquisition. They were actually maintaining, oiling the machine. It wasn't at the stage where their brain actually had to understand something. Okay? When you're understanding something, the opposite principle really helps your body to feel the difference between the two things. you might have already done this. You might have had, normally it's an old guy that comes in, right? Or sometimes it's a woman from, where are you from? Louisiana, right? And they come in and they slice every ball, right? To an annoying level, right? But actually they come into you and say, Coach, what I want to do is I want to hit it a bit flatter. Just want to hit a flat one. What do you try and teach them? If you're an experienced coach, you definitely have done this. Do you teach them flat, or do you tell them to do top spin? Yeah? The guy comes in with a slice, you teach him a top spin, what does he walk out with? Flat, yeah? You've already had it, you see, in order to get this motor pattern, right? So now the power of this for young children is very interesting because young children function on small batteries. They're not the Energizer bunny, they're the other bunny, right? They wear out quickly. They recharge quickly as well, which is why the High School Musical thing is a good thing to remember. She watched 10 minutes, she went off, she come back 10 minutes later, she's ready to go again, all right? So in making variety within our activities, we block it backwards and forwards. But also, the stimulation of using an opposite skill can really help us. Now, I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to disagree with what Michelle said yesterday. Because the opposite of hitting the ball out on the side was not to hit a backhand. The opposite of rolling the ball out on the side is actually rolling the ball in front, which is the very thing she didn't want them to do. So I need you to understand this, because what I'm actually saying is sometimes you want them to do the wrong thing in order to learn the skill. Alright? To give you a good example, let's go back to our slice serve example. What's the opposite of a slice serve? If I'm working on accelerating the racket from, listen to this statement, accelerating the racket from left to right, what's the opposite? Yeah. See, most people go, oh, that's a top spin serve. Nah, the opposite of a slice serve, look out over there, is this serve. Okay? Which you would never do as a match, but you might do it in order to help the child to learn the sensation of going this way. Hit 3 this way, hit 3 that way, hit 3 this way, hit 3 that way. So sometimes you do get yourself into a scenario where the opposite's actually doing something wrong. Yeah? It's not always about doing something right. You get the feeling between, so if you've got a kid, for example, someone asked me this about, I think it was last night. The last few days have kind of blurred into various drinking episodes, but someone asked me this last night, right? And basically they said, okay, I've got a kid that drops the racket head on the volley. How would you fix that based on this principle? So the human nature is, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. But actually this principle says you go here, 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 here. You actually go to the extreme. Now, you mustn't believe anything I say. The definition of an expert is a guy with a foreign accent who arrived on an aeroplane. But you are an educator, so you have to go and try it. Because guess what? If I was right, you'd feel a bit of an idiot if everyone else was doing it and you weren't. Right? Believe me, the first time I saw this is called differential learning. The first time I saw this, I was like, huh? What, you mean doing the wrong thing helps me learn the right thing? How can that be possible? And it's about using the extremes. It's the same way we store information. So we're just going to do cross-court forehands with top spin. Alright? So we're just going to rally cross-court forehand from the orange line down, okay? Alright, so a little bit cross-court forehand with top spin. Let's go. Okay, your challenge. So we have our two knot signs. Okay, what is the opposite of this? So talk to the person next to you. What is the opposite of this practice? Try and remember what Michelle said yesterday about what the opposite really is. It's not the practice so much as the skill. And we are doing top spin forehands, cross court deep. Okay? Cross court, I'm just going to give you one clue. The opposite is not backhand, slice, down the line, short. Alright? That's not the opposite. Go again, go. Top spin forehands, cross court deep. Come on, then. I feel like Uncle Tony now, you know? Stop it, right? You get your drinks, right? Uncle Tony doesn't do that. Uncle Tony, you know, Uncle Tony was in Australia a few years ago at a conference, and they said, will you teach someone after Rafa retires? And he says, if you're a coach on the tour, you get their towel, you book their hotel, you get their water bottle, you make sure their rackets go to the stringer, you do all those things. So he said, but that didn't answer the question. He said, yeah, I don't do any of those things, so no one's going to employ me. Right, what's the opposite? Someone give me an opposite.
Short down the line.
What it is you take any one of the elements. So the opposite of a forehand cross court is a forehand down the line. So if someone is struggling with the direction of this, you would practice some forehands cross courts and forehands down the line. Forehands cross court, forehands down the line. With little blocks like that. Alright? If someone was struggling with the top spin element of this, you might practice some top spins and then you might practice some slices. If someone was struggling with the depth element of this, you might practice deep and then short. It's probably not so logical to switch to the backhand side on this, to be honest, because you're trying to build the skill. Do you see? You just take one bit of it and you look at the player. So right now I'm saying, okay, Lana's struggling because she's got so much spin, she's struggling with the depth. I'm going to try and make her hit the ball short 5 times, deep 5 times. Yeah, but we say, okay, Jenny's struggling with the top spin, I'm going to make her do top spin for a bit, then slice for a bit. Alright? So what this is about, people misunderstand the first stage of learning. It's called the cognitive stage of learning. Cognitive means to understand. They think it means just understand the phrase, understand it as a word. Alright? But actually it means your body to understand the feeling. What does it feel like? And again, there's the great advantage of Red Orange Green. Even if you're not able to play in a certain way with the yellow ball, you can feel much more advanced technical stuff at an earlier stage because you've got the chance to on that ball. Okay? Is that right? Yeah, okay, if you know that then. Okay, let's imagine this. I'm working on approaching the ball deep down the line, coming in and making my volley on that angle, short angle, cross court. That's what I'm working on. Right, approaching down the line, coming in and making my volley from this height, short angle cross court. Talk to your partner, see if you can come up with a few opposites real quick. Then we'll move on. Go! Okay, ready? Yeah? Any questions? Remember, there's only one important person in the room. That's Noah. After that, it's you. Okay? Are there any questions about this topic? If you don't ask the question and you leave not really understanding it, you just wasted your time. spend 2 days here without getting paid. You better make sure you leave with the answers, Mike.
You're still staying in the 4 and out, right?
I find that, look, what I do is I go and try and find out as much as I can about child learning, and then I take it on the tennis court and go, is this just some professor in a university, or does this really work? Right? So I found that when you do the switch between the forehand and the backhand as an opposite, they don't really get it. Okay? It doesn't really have that kind of effect. The skill's a little bit more fine. It could be, you're right, yeah. I've given you, what I'm saying to you is I'm trying to get you to think there are lots of different answers here. It depends where the skill breaks down. If the skill breaks down in the direction of the approach, the opposite actually became directing the approach, in which case I might practice some down the line, might practice some cross court. It could be that I don't get enough depth on the approach, in which case I might practice some short, I might practice some deep. It could be that when I come into the net, I drop my racket head, so I'm not keeping it up, so actually I'll practice some down here, up there. It could be that I actually don't angle the ball on the cross court very well, all right? So I'm practicing some over there and some over there. Yeah? It could be that I'm not getting the right depth that I want, so I go some short and some deep. What I'm saying to you is one practice just became about 30 different varieties and versions and God knows what. And we tend to invent all of these childish and kiddie games because we're thinking that that's the way to teach tennis. But most 7-year-olds have 5 adult role models who they want to be. In England, for boys, on average, right, 3 of those are soccer players. On average, that means for some of them, 5 out of 5 are soccer players. So you know what? That's 7-year-olds. They're not saying they want to be Batman, Superman. They're saying they want to be this player. You know, some kid said to me something about he wanted to be Tebow or something like that in some place. I thought he wanted to be a dog biscuit. I was thinking, what the hell is that all about, right? But you know, basically they know who these people are, and then we come out as tennis and we go, right, today we're going to pretend they're ducks in the pond. The kid doesn't run out with a soccer ball, put it on the ground and go, let's pretend it's a spaceship. Not at 7. At 5 they do. Alright? Sometimes at 6 they still do. But my point about this is, we're actually practicing the patterns of tennis. By the time we get to orange court, we're teaching them tennis as tennis. Okay? And that means we need to have the varieties of the drill, the same drill. Tennis is quite a simple game, isn't it? The patterns of play on an orange court are, can I serve out wide and hit you down the line? Can I move you off the court and into the space? I can't move you back very far because the ball doesn't bounce high enough. So the patterns are really simple. So tennis can be really, really simple, and our job is to maintain velocity. That means direction with speed. It means keep going, okay, and maintain your impetus in that direction. That's hard. Sometimes we feel like we have to do silly things. Alright, so it's a way of us building drills that really we can focus on. There's lots of different versions of the same thing, focusing on different points within that one pattern. Goodbye guys, see you later, thank you very much. Alright? Okay? They just left. It's polite. Can you say that? Can people leave the club? Right, okay. Alright. Yeah, so everyone gets the idea of opposites. Okay, right, what we're going to look at now is the idea of challenge. Now, challenge is vitally important in learning. If you're here, okay, if you're here, chances are you're not learning anything. We need to create a level of challenge for the kid. So, we need to get to, like, here somewhere. Okay? Now, this has got many, many benefits. One benefit is, if I'm this focused on my task, I have no idea if she's doing something different over there, or if she's doing something different on there. If I reach my point of challenge, yeah, challenge is a bell curve. Are you familiar with the idea of a bell curve? Right? So the level of challenge increases to a point, at which you become over-challenged or over-aroused, and then actually performance drops off. So our job is to try and get to that point. Some of the yellow ballers all say, you know what, we need all these 6-year-olds playing with a yellow ball because we want it to be tough. We want the maximum challenge. It's not about maximum challenge, it's about optimal challenge, which is the top of the bell curve, right? We come up here, that's where I want to get to, where I'm fully focused and attentive to the task. Is that okay? So, how do we get there? Because we have a bit of a challenge, we have a bit of a problem in that we have some underachievers and overachievers. Have you heard Butch talk about underachievers and overachievers before? Right? In other words, you have kids at different ends of a spectrum. You have some kids who say, they'll fail 50 times and you say, do you want to go again? And they'll go, yeah. Alright? Okay? They're like the dog chasing the ball. Right? You bounce it off the cliff, they're still going after it. Alright? That's quite a boy characteristic. It's sometimes a characteristic that's there because they're not very aware. Okay? Then we have the underachiever. The underachiever sits at the other end, fails twice, and says, can't do this. Yeah? So within your program, you will have children at all different points of that spectrum. Yeah? And that's why this coaching's not easy. Yeah? So you have kids who will keep going and you can make it as hard as you like, and you have kids who basically, if they fail twice, their motivation goes and they leave. Right? So we leave the focus, the activity. So one of the things is to try and give them a safe environment in which they can feel challenged. So we're going to practice rally deep. Orange ball, so deep's there. Right now, you can decide where you want to rally to, Jenny, right? So we're going to say both players can rally past this line here. We know they can do that. So that's my point at which I think it's acceptable. It's still developmentally helping them. They can't do it 100% of the time. Not with slice. Right? They can't do it 100% of the time, but they're moderately successful. 7 out of 10, they're there. So that could be the level at which we practice. However, we have another little thing we can throw in. Right, Jenny, you can either choose, it's up to you, right? You can either choose to rally past this task here, all right? Or you could choose to try and get the ball between that line and that line. 7 times out of 10. But I'll tell you this, it's impossible for an orange player to do that. No orange player on the entire planet has ever managed that. It is, and the key word is, it's impossible. If something is impossible, you cannot fail. Because the coach just said it's impossible. So all you have to do is set that up. Same thing for you and I. You can aim for that space there, 7 out of 10, or you can try and get the ball between them. It's your little challenge on your own, right? You can choose, right? But it's impossible. No orange players ever make the ball go there. Okay? Right? So it's very interesting what kids will do if you take the pressure off. I had one little boy, he was a bit like precocious. Sorry, I use the word cheeky, but it doesn't always translate in America. I was in New York at the National Tennis Centre, a little girl, I called her a cheeky monkey. I turned up there the next time, and she said, "Oh, it's the chicken monkey man." So, precocious we'll use today. Right, anyway, so I had this little boy, he was quite precocious, and so I said to him, "Josh, you want to take the lesson, don't you?" He went, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well look, Josh, well you can do that. You can take the lesson." Okay? Every time I turned up at the club for the next 6 weeks, Josh is in the corner going. And eventually, 6 weeks later, he comes in and he goes, "My lesson, coach." Right? It's amazing what kids will do if you take, it's the same thing as the computer game, right? If you take away the sense of being judged, if you make it impossible, all right, then all you have to do is this, right? You know the drill? Alana, you ready? Yeah, it's impossible, right? It's impossible, Jane, you choose. You can basically just go and do this. Because now the kid gets to choose their own level of difficulty. You took off all the pressure. How many times do you think they're going to go for the impossible? How many times do you think they're going to push themselves to here? Okay? Not every time, Rod, but Rod would do it every time. The Rod would do it every time, but most of the kids will. Most of the kids will. And if a kid doesn't choose that, you know that there's some other issues going on somewhere, and they need a confidence boost. So the underachiever, absolute classic underachiever, will need a bit more attention and a bit more confidence to make that work. And you need a personal touch. Now I have to say, female coaches are way much more switched on to understanding that than male coaches are. Yeah, because male coaches tend to treat the kids like they're Marines. You know, let's go! Right? And actually the female coaches tend to actually be a bit more switched on to who the girls are. I was having a conversation with a coach this week up in Connecticut, and she said, yeah, I have this group of ladies, and he said, why is it your ladies always come back? And she said, because I know each one of them. I know that just as some ladies want to sweat, there are other ladies who absolutely don't want to sweat. Right? And that was the whole way she took the approach to how she was teaching her class. It's the same approach here. Remember what we've been talking about all weekend. This is a 20-year journey. The average age of a top 100 professional right now is 27 in the men's tour, right? And about 25 in the ladies' tour. So if they start 6, you've got a 21-year journey for a male player and a 19-year journey for a female player. Okay? You better make sure that you understand who they are. You better make sure that rather than look at it as a group lesson, you can think about 6 kids on a court, it's 6 individuals all going on at once. 6 private lessons all happening at the same time. And you work out, what does that kid need? What does that kid need? What does that kid need? Okay? I put on a Facebook post this week, it was nowhere near as funny as Julio's, but I put on a Facebook post this week and I put human resources managers. Why is it they're the most inhuman people I know? Right? It's because the word resource follows the word human. Right? The same thing, these players are not resources. They're not just people that pay us money. They are players we have a massive responsibility to. We have to understand them. And our business is all about relationship. Okay, all right, so we've got challenge out of the way, yeah? A little bit. So we kind of understand that. So could you do that with any drill? Give your partner a drill that you commonly use. See if you can find 2 levels of it. Right? How could you make that? What are the different ways you could make a task like impossible? How could you overload it? In other words, what we're really talking about here is the classic progression is doing this. You go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.